Hi everyone, welcome to the Spin Cycle podcast. The podcast celebrates the rich, diverse culture of London cycling scene. Just chatting to the incredible personalities, groups, and brands that make London and the UK an amazing place to be a cyclist. We've actually got a really special guest this week. Yet another person that was at my wedding. And honestly, how NJ and I met, it's Yannick White, the capo of CGC. Yannick, welcome to the podcast, mate.
Pleasure to be here. Good to see you both.
You too. It's always great to have El Capo on the show.
In the CGC merch as well, which I kind of enjoy.
Hey,
what is the merch that you're wearing here, Jan?
Oh yes, this is an audio format. So what merch are you wearing, Yannick?
Oh, this is just a CGC Feels Like Home t-shirt from our summer brunch edition.
Nice.
The same day at my wedding, so I double book it. Anyway, let's not talk about my wedding anymore. So, Yannick, famously, you are maybe on Instagram as Cycled Out of Lockdown. You're the capo of CGC. Why don't you give us a bit of an idea, maybe who you are as a person, actually, behind the lens, and kind of how you got into cycling, how you are where you are today on the bike?
Yeah, absolutely. I think from a personal perspective, Yannick White, 40 years old, spend a lot of time with my family, 3 kids, been married for the past 2 years. So yeah, personally, things are going well. I work in the city, VP of sales, so really, really busy typically. And I've always looked at some form of sport for exercise, for distraction, and just typically to keep the mind distracted away from the workplace or family pressures, etc.
And I mean, you went. I know that you went from maybe not cycling at all pre-lockdown, or I've seen some photos of you on a bike in the middle of lockdown, but the hockey stick journey from where you were pre-lockdown, not really riding a bike, or actually riding a bike just to get somewhere, rather than it being actually, I'm going to go out and ride my bike. I want to go to Surrey. I want to go north. I want to go to Essex and places like that. And now you're riding an Athos, and you did one more city last month, which is mega, by the way. Congrats on that.
Thank you.
The person you were then and the person you are today, like, I guess, what's that kind of cycling journey been like, right? Because I was on one of the really early CGC rides, but it's a whole different kettle of fish now, right? Like, it's quite pro now. Why didn't you maybe talk us about how, like, you kind of come up as a cyclist actually during that time too?
Yeah, definitely. I think, it's not often I reflect, but I think the journey's been definitely a bit of a whirlwind. Because I guess I hadn't really ridden a bike probably since I was about 16 years old, right? For me, cycling was a way to get from like my house to the shops or from my house to a friend's house, right? So typical kind of BMX bike, mountain bike. I think I had a green Muddy Fox at the time with I guess what you'd call today tan wool tires, right?
Oh, nice.
Oh, come on, mate.
Right. Underplaying it.
So that was kind of my kind of pre really road cycling days. But I think what happened during the pandemic was my gym was closed. I live in Wembley. I used to run around Wembley Stadium, and they closed access to the kind of track where you'd run around there as well. So I guess being on the social medias at the time, seeing a few of my friends who were just like cycling or riding bikes, kind of made me think, hey, let me just get a bike as a method or a way to get out my house, right? We was all on lockdown. It was a pandemic, but you could cycle for, I think 5 miles was the rule at the time, right? So yeah, I picked up a bike literally to get out the house, and it was a mountain bike at first because I remember I called my friend Chris, and he had a road bike, and I said to him, hey, I'm in the shop, and they've got like a mountain bike. What do you think? And he told me to look at a road bike instead. And my kind of my memory of a road bike was literally like a bike with skinny wheels, which as a big guy, I was like, "There's
Yeah.
no way I'm gonna pick up a racer with
Yeah.
that."
Yeah.
So I opted for the mountain bike, and that was my first really real cycling journey. Right, myself. I think my brother then purchased a bike. My
Yeah.
neighbor had a mountain bike as well, so we would literally just
Nice.
go out the house. We all live like relatively close. Go out the house and cycle
Mm.
for a couple of miles, really, and back.
Yeah.
So that's what it
I
started.
mean, and I guess it kind of you went on from there, right? So you're what in Whopper, but were you doing like the loops and stuff like that? We just like, let's just go down to Richmond, see what happens. Let's go to Windsor and back. Was that the kind of, is that how it built? Because to go from, I'm sorry, but to go from never had a road bike to you know, RCC ride captain, one more city.
Yeah, yeah. There's
It's a hell of a journey, man.
yeah, yeah,
In
yeah.
retrospect, right?
No, you're
Couple
right.
of
I think that if I think back to the rides I started doing, where I live, there's like a canal nearby. So
Mm.
we used to just like ride down the canal, like super safe, right? Super flat. And again, that was the early experience. I knew no better, so that was the early experience of
Yeah.
cycling or riding. It was just from A to B. Let me get out, do a small ride, be outside for like half an hour or an hour, and then back. And then
Mm.
I guess like after every ride, you start getting a buzz of going further and further and further. And I remember
Yeah.
one day we said, "Hey, we want to cycle around Hyde Park." And so we put the bikes in the car, drove down, right? Drove,
Yeah. Yeah.
right?
yeah.
Yeah. All
And
that
after
12 kilometers, pay congestion charge, take your bike out.
right, so we drove down to Bayswater, met up with a couple of friends who also drove down to Bayswater, parked up the car,
Mm.
and then went into Hyde Park and did probably a lap or two at best, right? And then back to the car and then back home. And again, that was the early experiences. And then it went from that to one day going to like Richmond Park.
Nice.
That
Yeah.
was probably it's probably the first experience of going to Richmond Park and seeing like again it was lockdown, so it's a bit different. When I say so many cyclists, so many then versus today is a totally different number. But
Yeah.
what felt like a
Of
lot
course.
of people in there at the time
Mm.
was just like one really surreal, really encouraging. People were going past me because I was on a mountain bike and they was on road bikes, right? I didn't know the
Yeah.
difference
Yeah.
between what makes the bike go faster, etc. And so we were doing that, and then one day my neighbor, who I always beat when we was riding,
Mm-hmm.
he actually got a road bike, and we went on a ride, and I literally just couldn't keep up with him, and I had no idea like why, right?
Yeah.
And then I learned more about understanding the weight of a bike, the types of the bikes, right? Rolling wheels, just various different
Mm.
things. So again, it was difficult getting hold of a bike, right? In
Yeah.
2020, etc. It was super hard to find a bike. So I was searching. I came across a Trek de Marne, it was called, that I found
Mm.
online. It was in stock at Bricks and Cycles, and I called the store
Yeah.
and literally over the phone put a deposit down. Went down there the following day and bought a bike. Right, and
Nice. Sick.
that was my first experience in road cycling, and then
Yeah.
going out more. I think as you ride, you start. I was posting on my like kind of private Instagram page. I'd see
Yeah.
someone else who rides, or they'd see me. Oh yeah, I got a bike as well. I'm riding too. Let's meet up.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then things just started to um, escalate in the sense of a social gathering form, right? So rather than just me, my
Mm.
brother, my neighbor, Chris, it became maybe us and another person. It's almost like every week there was
That's
somebody else
cool.
who also had a bike, right?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
And
mean,
so
how? Go on. So I'll ask you this one because wait, when did you first decide? When did you ignore the haters and decide you needed to put a bit of Lycra on? Because it's a very niche choice. Going to either your local bike shop or going on Sigma and seeing a really expensive speedo for about 150 quid and going, yeah, do you know what? I can justify that. Was there a point where you said, well, the die has been cast. I'm now wearing Lycra. Do you remember that? Was there a point where you were like, fucking hell, we
do,
got to do this now?
do you know what? I think when I was first riding, I was essentially like out of the gym and onto the bike. So I was wearing like I wear Nike a lot, so I was wearing Nike Dry
Yeah.
Fit, right? So my
Mm.
gym clothes became my cycling clothes. and I'd probably say that when I got a road bike and I started cycling more around, like whether it's Richmond Park or Regent's Park, and seeing other people in cycling apparel, that
Mm.
becomes a comfort, right? Because it's to a non-cyclist, wearing lycra is not cool, right? So to somebody who's just got a bike, wearing
Mm.
lycra is not cool.
Yeah.
But someone who's just got on a bike, who's now associating with other people who are on a bike, right? You start to understand the maybe marginal gains, but the
Yeah.
benefits of wearing bib shorts or tights, padding, for example,
Oh
versus
yeah.
wearing normal
Yeah.
shorts, no padding, right? T-shirt flapping in the wind versus fitted
Mm.
cycling jersey, non-flapping in the wind, right? So
Yeah.
those small differences is probably what made me make that transition. And then another one of my friends had cleats, for example.
Yeah.
And so kind of said, hey, you should get cycling shoes. The benefit of it is XYZ. Like one day I went out on a
Mm.
ride in the rain and my feet were like slipping off the pedals as we was riding, right? And
Yeah.
somebody else who had
Yeah.
cleats
Bet.
Yeah.
didn't have that experience, right? And so you guys will know from going through those journeys yourselves as well. It was kind of making that transition
Oh
kind
yeah.
of slowly, but every ride you start thinking about, right, now I want to make that improvement, or now I want to look at that. I actually,
Mm.
believe it or not, didn't wear a helmet when I first started riding because if
Got it,
I'm
You madman.
mate. You got kids, mate. Jesus.
I know, but again, to a non-cyclist who's like, your perception is I'm going to get on a bike and I'm just riding
Yeah.
to the local park on the pavement or on the road, but I'm safe because I'm not going fast. So that's your perception. And then
Yeah.
as you're riding more and more and you're seeing different things around
Mm.
cars more often, you understand and become aware of the risks, right? And then prevention is
Yeah.
better than cure. So obviously, um, helmets, etc., become a thing of the norm, right? But to
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
unaware person, uneducated person, I would say, you know no better, so to speak.
And do you like NJ and I cycled for like a long time, like quite a while. Like I remember wearing uh Live Strong branded quarter zip short sleeve jerseys, and like just like the most heinous kit you've ever seen in your life. Like these were the dark ages of cycling. I told NJ once I cycled the wrong way against traffic because somebody told me that's how you do it, and this was in like dark rural Suffolk. So anyway, so like yeah, it's different. But like even since maybe you've got a quite unique perspective on this because you're the Capo CGC. We'll get on more onto this in section two, and we can talk about how the club came. But you've seen a massive change, even though in relative terms came to cycling a bit late, both in life and then in the kind of overall arc of where we are now. But how do you think cycling has actually changed, even since you've started doing it? Right, be it from maybe a community, from being out on your bike. We might be venturing into the next part of the section, but I'd just be keen to get your understanding of because you see it more than anyone, right? You run one of the biggest cycling clubs in London, one of the most active cycling clubs in London. How do you think anything has changed since you first kind of started? Ooh, what are we now? 3 years ago, 4 years ago?
Yeah, I think depending on who you ask that question to, you probably get a slightly different answer, right? So I think
Mm,
from my perspective, as a non-cyclist coming into cycling,
mm,
um, every day is a school day first and foremost. I think for me, right, I came into cycling to escape kind of my house or my work,
mm,
really for headspace more than anything. And so that was my initial kind of goal, right?
yeah.
Then when I got into cycling and realized that there's an amazing community, realized that it's an amazing sport, right? I actually didn't acknowledge cycling as a sport prior to being in it, right? And so
Yeah.
when we talk about changes, I think for me, I've seen more of the cycling world than I ever knew was imaginable previously, right? Going abroad on a bike, going on a cycling holiday, right?
Mm,
Following the Tour de France, for example,
Yeah.
yeah.
acknowledging kind of sportifs, social groups. So the social groups is the first part that I became aware of, but there's so much more than just social groups, right? Going to the velodrome, accessibility to
Yeah.
places as well. So I think the changes I've seen at first hand have probably been more and more clubs and on a community grassroots levels. I
Yeah.
think cycling's become a lot more accessible.
Yeah.
right? I think it's cool to cycle, right? My
Mhm.
kids might tell me different, but I
Oh,
think it's
no.
cool to be in like today,
Or when
right?
it's Sunday morning and you're coming home in a pair of bib tights, a base layer, and you catch the look of your wife seeing you come in at 9 o'clock in the morning, going, "Oh my god, is this my life now?"
Yeah. How
Yeah,
did the wife react to your first
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
delve
We need
into
to know that.
lycra?
Yeah.
she liked it, to be fair.
Oh
She,
yeah.
she liked it at first, right? Men in tights. She liked it. My children probably laughed a little bit, but yeah, it was. It's been a transition.
Mm,
I think one of your initial questions was around like brands and things like that, right? Different
mm,
clothing. I think when I first started cycling and making that transition into wearing kind of bike attire, I kind of went to my default domain whenever I need to order something, which is Amazon, right? And
yeah.
I just ordered what was available. The brand didn't matter, the fit didn't matter. I just needed a jersey for the ride tomorrow. If I order it,
Yep.
it comes. Let's go. So that was the initial start, and then I say I shop a lot. I used to probably shop a lot. I like nice things, so I spent a lot of time with Mr. Porter, and on Mr.
Mm.
Porter's where I
Yeah.
discovered Rafa. And so I
Oh.
figured that, hey, if Rafa's on Mr. Porter and I shop at Mr. Porter, that's a
Yeah.
brand that's clearly pretty decent. So let me try and order some bits from that brand. So that was my first kind of taste, if you like, of buying Rafa. I think my first purchase was like a black pair of like bib shorts, for example, with a black jersey
Yeah.
and a black rain
Yeah.
jacket. Right, we're in
Yeah.
England,
Yeah.
so we have the
Cool.
rain
Yeah.
jacket.
And get black everything is your
Yeah.
first
Yeah.
purchase.
Well,
Done.
the funny thing on that part, NJ, was I had all black, and I remember going on a ride and posting a picture on like Facebook and Instagram at the time, and then
Mm.
my mum like sending me a message on our family DM like, you must wear luminous clothing when cycling. Typical kind of worried mother approach.
Yeah. Yeah.
But no, I'm definitely more of a stealth dark clothing attire person with hints of colors at the appropriate time, right?
What are the
Mate, my mum
appropriate
says
times?
my mum says the same thing. My mum says the same thing, and she says like, so I had a I wear Duro helmets because they fit my head quite well, and I gave her a Duro. I had an old Duro synth, and it was black, and I gave it to her. I said, "Oh, that's quite an expensive helmet. They're really lightweight. You'd like that?" She's like, "Oh, thank you very much." And then, well, you've met my mum, and my mum said to me, "Oh, I was looking at your guys' photos, and I'm looking at photos of other brands, and I realized everybody wears white helmets. Why is that?" And I was like, "Well, it looks quite pro." But also, and she was like, "Yeah, but you also have seen a lot more, right?" I was like, "Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. That's the most crucial step. People see you more."
The truth is, white helmets look cool in the summer, right? And then I normally go white in the summer and black in the winter.
Oh,
It's
well,
transitional. Mm.
what about the shoes? Did the shoes match the helmet?
Do you know what? I'm actually having this debate at the moment. So the
Is this
first pair of
after I ruined? Is this after I ruined your shoes in January of last year?
this is after you ruined my shoes. Yes,
You ruined everyone's shoes.
nice ride, yeah.
Yeah, I
Um,
actually ruined your shoes. I'm so sorry.
no, you're all good. I think my first pair of shoes were black, and
Mm.
then I
Yeah.
transitioned to white. And this past year, I wore white shoes all through winter and realized that I ruined my shoes in the winter months. So having had fresh white shoes this year, I'm at that kind of transition phase now. I think I'm gonna go for the same shoes in black with shoe
Mm.
covers.
Yeah. Whereas I
Yeah, so
wreck my white shoes in summer, so that's why I'm always in black shoes. Like, I just can't help. It's too messy. I know that you
public
can like.
No,
transition.
no, 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 no. Because also you commit the also that you'll sometimes commit the war crime of wearing black socks. So that's the reason you actually wear black shoes, then, Jay. Let's not lie
Black
to the good
black
people of
so-
podcast land.
black socks are for winter, white socks are for summer.
I actually don't own any black socks.
Yeah, good point. Right, and on that, I think it's time we went to a break. Thank you.
Welcome back, everyone. Jan, how did CGC start? Because me and Cam, despite being at the club for like over a year, maybe Cam longer in it, but
Yeah,
we don't really know. We just know you and Chris started it off.
Yeah, do you know what? I'm gonna have to do some thinking myself here. No, I So I mentioned that when I started riding, I was going out with like my neighbor, my brother, and then my neighbor had a WhatsApp group with basically his mates that had bikes, and so I was in his group. We were all riding together, like kind of like just during the week, blah blah blah. And then one day, fast forward a few months into the pandemic and into riding, one day I spoke to a couple of my different friends from like school days
Yeah.
who all live in different parts of London. And we said, hey, we should all ride together and just like get together one day. Like I hadn't seen
Yeah.
some of them in like 10 years, 15 years. Like let's all connect. And
Mhm.
so across like my social group, I'm pretty much the organizer. And so,
Okay.
long story short, I created a WhatsApp group and just put our different friends in it, right? So I was already in a
Nice.
group. I created a group
Yeah.
and put our different friends in. And then we said that
Mm.
we would meet up at Uxbridge and ride from Uxbridge
Yeah.
to Windsor and back. And so about 8 of us or so went and did that ride. And then I think the group was just called like I don't even know. I just made up something like old school friends group or whatever,
Yeah.
right? School friends
Yeah.
bike
Yeah.
club. It was something like that, and we did that ride, and then we did one more ride, and then it was just pretty obvious that we were now going to start doing more rides together,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
and I had
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
this group, and then my neighbor's group. I ended up putting my neighbor into this group, and then fast forward a month or so, we just like changed it to just chain gang
Oh,
at the
nice.
time, and that just literally again I
Oh.
knew nothing about
Oh.
cycling, right? So that just meant
Mm.
like we were all riding bikes together, so we're like a bike
Yeah.
chain, like chain gang.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so that
Yeah. Yeah.
was like on the surface how the name came about. And I
Mhm.
remember, I think it was 2020 December.
Mm.
We were doing like a Hertfordshire loop. So
Mm.
we all got together in like Broxbourne or something like that, and then
Yeah.
we went and did like a long ride. It was just after, I think it was in between like Christmas and New Year's, and that was probably like the first kind of chain gang, so to
Oh,
speak,
sick.
unofficial chain gang ride. So that's how it came about, and then we had like all these conversations around about the name. Like after a while, should we change it? Should we keep it? There was a whole load
Mm.
of WhatsApp discussions around that as well. But yeah, that's essentially how the actual social to club element
Yeah.
came about.
And is
Was there
that
any?
still the same? Sorry, sorry, NJ? Is that the same group chat now?
That's the same group chat.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, this the exact same group chat that we have in place today was the group
Yeah.
chat that started probably like as I say November, December 2020 was the initial group. All that's changed is the name across that time to be a bit more formal. Obviously, when we first started, it wasn't a bike club. It was literally just like a WhatsApp group like any other, so that you could connect with some friends and have a chat. It's just that the conversation was all cycling driven, right?
Yeah.
Mm.
Was there any names that came up when you were having these discussions that you're like, maybe, but then they just were like,
Do you know what? I'd have to probably scroll back to the
yeah.
very start. I'd be surprised. It might
That's going to be too. No,
it
no.
might still be in there, right? Yeah, a
Yeah.
lot of
Yeah.
scrolling, but there was a lot of different names that got floated at the time, but there was nothing that just sounded better than Chain Gang or CGC, right?
Yeah.
Mm.
And I think Chain Gang or CGC just flowed. The other things
Yeah.
that came up at the time, again, I can't even remember them now, but none of them sounded the same. Like it had the same impact.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a really good name. It's like the power of three. So as I
Mm.
guess the club has gone from these, I guess, small acorns to where it is now. How big would you say the club is now? And because I know that brunch is probably, I guess, your favorite. Well, like as in, I guess, as members and people who outward
Yeah.
look, I'd say brunch is probably like your biggest ride.
Yeah, I think so. Like we I'll tell you a quick funny story about brunch and how that came about.
Yeah.
Right, last year, the year before last December, me and Chris was having a conversation, and we were informally doing these rides on our own accord, right? And then more and more people were riding with us, and so just saying, "Hey, Chris, do you want to ride on Saturday?" Just wasn't really a way that we could get people together as the world opened up and people were living their own personal lives. So we tried to figure out a way to get consistency. And so I remember speaking to my wife at the time and saying,
Yeah.
"Hey, I'm gonna I'm gonna block out imagine this conversation, right? I'm going to block out the next 3 months worth of Sundays to ride
Okay.
my bike in the morning, but I'll be home by 11, 12ish.
And
Right?
Yannick, just to confirm to the audience, that's with 3 quite young children at the time.
Yeah, absolutely. That too. That too, right? So I'm going to block out time and ride my bike every single Sunday for the next 3 months. Just temporary. I just want to see if we can get this club going, right? So we did that. We then was able to confirm that we would lead rides across that time, and then so now we were writing out the itinerary for January, and we basically filled it up. Apart from the third Sunday, we couldn't figure out what to do. And so I told that story earlier about when we first rode to Richmond Park. Right, what was interesting about that time is that all you could do is ride. Like, you couldn't go to a shop after, they were closed. After a while, even the cafe was closed, so there was zero social element to it, right? And we started meeting so many people, but you actually don't know what anybody looks like beyond the helmet, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Right, we like, you recognize people by their lids, by their bike, but not by actually
Mate,
them, right?
when you see a cyclist wearing their civvies, you're like, oh, so that's how you dress. That's who you are as a person.
Or you walk past them because you don't recognize them.
Yeah.
Right. So we've probably all been there as well. So so as a throwaway, it was like, rather than trying to find a ride, like, we loved Richmond Park. Let's just go to Richmond Park, do some laps, and then let's just find like a cafe or something after to have a bit of a social. And that's essentially how brunch was formed, right? The first one, it was like 30 odd people or so. Again, everybody loves Richmond. It's accessible. You do some laps, and everybody loves a good old social, some coffee and cake and some chat. So that's how it came about. And then the summer one was again like, hey, this brunch ride's good. Do you reckon we can get 100 people? Was how that came about, right? And then I think we love abbreviations, because amongst one of us, somebody just threw out like bank holiday bonanza. Right? Next minute it becomes right? And then we did that, and we had like 140, 50 people at the first one. Same thing again this year. So that's by far the biggest ride attendee wise, for sure.
Can I ask you? Sorry, NJ, but Yannick, the first brunch we did, was that at an? I'm not going to name the place, but was that at a place where we said there was going to be 15 of us and 30 of us turned up, and it was in South London, and they told us to stop coming in, and I had a pint and my wife was very much ready to have a baby. Well, she was 7 months pregnant, and I decided to have a pint very early on, and it was the first, maybe the first proper CGC thing where people were like, okay, this is a vibe, this place. Was that one?
That was that one, 100%. Yeah, 100%. And yeah, we didn't know how many people were going to come, right? So we called that particular place and just said, hey, can we make a reservation for 15 people? And I think like the day before the ride, it was like 30 odd, or so. It was about 25 or something. So we called up and said, hey, there might be a few more of us. And it was a bit cagey in the answer. And then we turned up on the day of 30. Right? You turn up to any restaurant or cafe and you essentially bring them business, you would think that would be an amazing thing to do. But I guess they've got local custom, which come there regularly as well. So in short, 30 bikes. I guess difficulty with other customers getting away to the takeaway cup lids because of the bikes, right? So we found a new home that welcomed us with open arms.
I've kind of focused in on, I guess, brunch, but what other rides does CGC do?
I think the ethos of CGC really is about opening up rides to the community to join, and we try and embrace all different types of people that we can support in a safe environment. And so our rides range from what we call C1 to C4, right? So from race pace to chit chat pace. So as long as you can like confidently ride your bike, then we can try and create a home for you to ride in a safe space. And then location wise, over the years, our members have it's gone from being like in northwest London with just Chris and South to having a spread of a little bit of everything. And so every week we try and rotate our start point and our ride destination, so that it supports the community that we serve, but also so that people get a variety of different rides, right? If you want to do hills, we can take you out to Kent or Surrey. If you want to do something flat, we can keep it pretty central. If you want some nice lanes, we can go to the Chilterns or Essex. So we try and do a little bit of everything. And then more recently, we've like Richmond Park is almost like the hub to a degree, especially for weekend rides. And so we're trying to do at least every other ride starting from Richmond, just so that we can create that concept of if I'm familiar with that area or local to that area, then I know that I can at least join a ride every other week versus having like, I don't know, 3 in Essex back to back, right? And the start point not being relevant for the audience that we serve.
Yeah, that's great. What about off the bike? Do you do any sort of off the bike events where no one turns up in Lycra?
You mean non-lycra events? What are those? Now we do. We try and do socials, right? So whether it's hiring a bowling venue, or hiring a bar or pub in Central, somewhere relevant, just to get people together. I think again, when we first started cycling, it was just to get out of the house, but actually we've been fortunate to build a community of people who have formed friendships, right? And so trying to provide an environment for those friends to connect and have off the bike conversations, drinks, socials, parties. We do.
Yeah. So, what is the what would you say the most epic party you've done is? Would it be the bowling and the karaoke, or would you say it was the Christmas party where Cam, whether it was an impromptu speech or not, I will let Cam decide on that. But it was probably the most vibiest party probably to ever happen in Rafa. I've not been to any other, but it was like people on the street wanted to get in. It was just like the DJs were playing like the best music. Everyone was like on like just the best level. Everyone, it felt like someone got married, and I'm not sure who got married that night, but it felt like a wedding.
Go, Jan, go. I've got my own thoughts, but Yannick, you've got the floor, mate, because it's your club. Jesus, it was crazy.
I think for me, I'm a big fan of like experiences, right? So I always want everyone to have the best time, and so I'm passionate about trying to put my all into anything that we do, right? And also every event, I want it to be better than the last one, right? Which I'm quickly learning isn't always viable as well, right? Right. So you touched on the bowling. So the bowling was probably one of the first events that we did, where it was like, hey, let's like forget the bikes today. Let's just all get together and have a great time, right? And I'd actually done events at All Star Lanes before from a work perspective, so I knew they had karaoke, right? And I think anytime you've got like music, drink, and karaoke, like it's almost like the ingredients for a good time, right? Like you kind of shouldn't not have a good time when you've got that involved. So that one was amazing, and I was like seeing people like getting up on the mic, going like Dean or Daryl or whoever, just having a really great time, right? Like the bowling was just the excuse to get together, right? I didn't even know how many people actually bowled.
Bowling was an accessory, mate. Right? The bowling was accessory. I didn't bowl a single round, mate. I was just there vibing.
So that party was epic. But the Christmas party was I'd been to a couple of events at Rafa, and we had partnered with Rafa, which gave us accessibility to or access to the clubhouse, right? And so wanted to turn the clubhouse into a nightclub, right? And so we put that on as the kind of end of year stroke Christmas party stroke anniversary, because around that time is also when that first ride I mentioned to you with the WhatsApp group came about, right? So we kind of treat it as a unofficial anniversary stroke end of year celebration. So like for me, I guess like I get satisfaction from just looking around the room and seeing people enjoying themselves, seeing 2 random people who turned up for rides at different times that didn't know each other, that are now having a like civilian attire, I call it, right, off the bike in your civilian gear, having a drink, having a dance, and enjoying yourself with somebody who used to be a stranger. Like for me, Like, what's more enriching than
Mm.
that? And so that party was epic, right? Seeing people on the street walking past the store and then coming back and trying to figure out how I paid to get in. It's like, no, this is just a cycling club party, mate.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, it was great.
Mate, mate, so bowling, my wife and my daughter came. My daughter was 4 months old. Do you remember that? So first of all, they were like, it was downstairs basement on Star Lanes, and the guy was like, "Bro, no, why you got a baby here, man? Bro, no babies." I was like, "No, I've cleared it up with the guys who arranged it. I can bring my baby." And he's like, "I need to speak to him." And you were like, "Nah, shut up, man. Let's let this guy in." And my daughter, no headphones, none of this like ear defenders.
Yeah, I
She
remember.
slept behind the speakers when
Yeah, I
everybody was
remember.
doing the karaoke.
I
And then
saw some of the videos from
and
that.
then the
Some
Christmas
people can't
mate, the
sing.
Christmas party was chaos. Like I turned up, there's like, oh my god, yeah, like I pretended that speech was off the cuff. Mate, I planned that for 3 weeks, and it was so planned, but I pretended it wasn't. Oh, clearly it was, but I turned up and I said, like, there was more pizza than people, and I don't mean just like pizza slices. I mean like actual pizza. And I was like, oh, okay, maybe I'll have a little bit of food. And then they were like, no, 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 keep going, keep drinking, keep going, keep going, keep going. I think we left at 9. Yeah, I think we left about 9:30 when we 9 or 10. I think we left, and then you know, my daughter was still under a year old, right? So we were kind of taking it easy, and my wife was there, and I was kind of thinking, I was like, oh yeah, we can just shoot off. It's a bit late, but I remember, like, when you wake up on your phone and you look at what people have been doing,
Yeah.
and it was like Yannick White Instagram updated 45 minutes ago. I'm like, mate, it's like I'm so glad. Like those days are behind me, man. I can't do that anymore.
Yeah, it was definitely a late one.
We ended up in
Um,
Chinatown, didn't we, Yan? I can't remember
yeah.
what the Chinese restaurant was called, but I devoured that sweet and sour. Like it was no bit. I was like I don't know why. I was like to the waiters at like 1 a.m. in the morning. What would you recommend? They were horrible, but that's what I want. That's what I want from my from those restaurants. Like at 1 a.m. They're like all the recommendations are like some like fluoro yellow on the like menu, and I was like, I know what I'm already gonna get.
Yeah.
And it was just like all over my face, like I'd been to war or something like that.
The signs of a good night. If you're in central London, you've had a good night out if you end up in Chinatown, right?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah, that was an epic finish to the night.
Yeah. So we've kind of established the beginning. We've established the present. But what about the future? Where do you see, I guess, CGC? Because this year you launched your race team.
Yeah.
I don't know what else you've launched. You just got bigger. That's all I know. Race team, you've got bigger. Future, is there more ride captains on the horizon? Is there more rides, more destination rides?
Yeah, definitely. I think one of the things that I used to do at the start of each year was just have a conversation with different people, or send out a survey to different people and ask, hey, what are your goals? Like, what are your riding goals this year?
Yeah.
Because if I guess my kind of vision or my desire is, if I can try and create within CGC a platform to help individuals achieve their riding goals, um,
Mm,
then then that means that the club has continued to serve its purpose, right? And so,
yeah.
and I couple that with some of what my riding goals are, right? Or what are my or Chris's objectives or goals? Because a year or two ago, it was, hey, I want to go abroad with the bike, right? So
Yeah.
Yeah.
selfishly, we wanted to go abroad with the bike. But it turns out that a lot of other people wanted to go as well, right? And
Yeah.
so a small personal holiday
Yeah.
became the CGC club organized trip, right? We didn't say, hey, we want to build a trip for the club. We just wanted to go abroad
Yeah.
with the bike, and others did. So we facilitated that, right? And a lot of our
Mm,
events and different things have been around maybe personal interests, and then we've built that into the club because there became common interests. And so I knew coming into this year that there was a desire from individuals to race, right? I also know that we didn't have a race team. I didn't even know, and I still am figuring that out, like like as a team, what are your responsibilities? What do you provide, right?
Yeah.
What I know is we had a couple of riders who were strong, who were approached by other clubs who had those facilities and pathways, and so
Hmm.
respectfully they went and rode with those different clubs,
Yeah.
which is great because that enabled me to understand that we were missing something, and so connected with British Cycling, spoke to a few different individuals for support, and started to really set up an infrastructure so that people within our club could race under our club versus
Yeah.
having to go somewhere else because we haven't got that. And so we built a platform for 4 people. We actually just had 2 more connect and join as well. So we
Oh,
head
nice.
into the end of the year with 6 people officially registered under the
Amazing.
brand, but probably more because some people do cross and different things and they're tagging our
Yeah.
club. We just haven't had a formal conversation around it yet. So we need to formalize that,
Yeah.
right? But I
Yeah.
think putting some real structure and process across the race team side is on the agenda
Mm.
for next year. I think continuing to serve the community, right? Continuing to provide open rides that are accessible for everyone who can participate is something that we're passionate about. You mentioned ride leaders. I think it's important that you can only serve the masses or an audience, right? If you've got
Yeah.
enough ride leaders to support that infrastructure and be safe. So
Hmm.
we're actively recruiting for more ride leaders to come into the fold, right?
Hmm.
At a stage we had 16. The theory across that was everybody has to
Yeah.
do 1 ride per week, or sorry, per month, which
Yeah.
covers
Hmm.
the weekly roster. Um, but what I've learned as well is the more and more that people cycle, the more you find like passions in different areas, and life also just takes over, right? So
Yeah.
availability isn't
Yeah.
always there, and so you've always got to have a constant bank of people who can also add into the fold, and people have often reached out saying, "Hey, I'd love to do that. I'd love to do this," and I've probably been closed to some of those conversations because either I don't know you, or I don't know you well enough, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I'm also learning to try and entrust people more, right? Which is very
Hmm.
difficult because I've entrusted a lot of people as well, and that doesn't always get you the right outcome that you're looking for, and so you have to be somewhat guarded, yet
Mm.
Yeah.
able to be open to allowing that as well. Yeah, but in short answer, more racing across the team. I think you see more
Yeah.
cheesy bibs out there in the wild, right? More
Oh,
cycling trips.
nice.
We want to go abroad to some of the same, but also new destinations.
Yep.
More local UK based trips as well,
Oh,
and then
nice.
just more rides in a wider variety with more riders joining the fold.
Perfect. That sounds like a strong 2024 's coming up. You were
Hope
talking
so.
about, I guess, structure and safety. As we all know, in any walk of life, there's going to be, I guess, people aren't going to get along. There's going to be conflicts. There's going to be people unhappy. How, as a club, do you and Chris, I guess, deal with those sort of complaints? And how would people, if how would people go to, I guess, if their problem was with you and Chris, how would they, I guess, go about dealing with that?
Yeah, I think there isn't like a magical answer or wand
Yeah.
to really throw at that one, right? I use the phrase "every day is a school day" quite a lot
Mm.
because when you're in something that's essentially new to you, you're constantly learning, right?
Yeah.
I'm a leader in my day-to-day job. I manage and responsible for over 70 people, right? And so from like a dealing with conflict or complaints or resolution solving. That's what I do in a structured way. But in the workplace, that's different to in an environment like if you was with your friends, right, or in a
Yeah.
cycling community. And I guess one of the things that I'm learning is as we continue to evolve, right. We started with a small WhatsApp group that had
Yeah.
six
Yeah.
people. The WhatsApp group now has 100 people, right? Our
Yeah.
Strava club has over 1,500 people. So we interact with 1,500 people who can join our rides, right? I think
Jesus Christ.
if if we had like um, one person, for example, have a challenge or something didn't go well, we're talking like less than like 0.1%, but it's
Yeah.
still 0.1%,
Mm.
right? And so the way that
Yep.
we would really try and handle that and solve it is just as best as we can. So whether that's hearing something, having a dialogue around it, It really depends on what it is, right? I think
Yeah.
I think for me, we talk about like cycling club. Um, we have a saying called "it feels like home," right? Um, because
Yeah.
hopefully well, I think where it comes from is the fact that it's a super friendly, warmly place. You can come and you can just feel like you're with your mates, right, or family, and so it
Mm.
feels like home comes from that. And so I've tried to always resolve something if it comes up in a similar way that I would with my friends. However, the bigger you become, the more you have to put structure in place, right? And so
Yeah.
we're at this space now
Yeah.
where we've started to look at, okay, what does our committee look like? What does our not just resolution problem etiquette look like? What does our new ideas solutions etiquette look like too, right? So trying to really create that structure where we can be a bit more formal, not too formal. We're not a company, right? We're
Yeah.
also not a club that charges membership where we can say, right, let's put this person here and put these funds
Yeah.
towards XYZ. Like mostly everything we do is self-funded from my pocket, right? Or from Chris's pocket. And so there's an element of
Yeah.
like trial and error in some of it or doing what you can with the means that you have. But
Yeah.
every day is a school day, right?
It is. You'll always be learning. There's always, I guess, there'll always, yeah, every issue isn't the same. Like, you can't deal with each issue in the same way. It's all like, they're all
Absolutely.
individual and everyone's feelings are always sort of like individual to them. And you have to sort of understand them as a person. And as long as both of you are like looking for a positive outcome, then that in itself is like I would feel like safe in that space. I'm just going to add in a little, little question that I didn't tell you that we were going to add in. If I was new, how would I join CGC?
Yeah, absolutely. I think I'd probably answer that by looking at how new people join today, right? So I manage currently our Club Strava page. We have a team of admin people who also can vet and allow people to join. And
Yeah.
I also
Hmm.
manage our Instagram page, right? Chain Gang Cyclists Official, um, blah blah blah, right? Shameless plug. So
Yeah.
um, typically, I'll get messages or DMs from people saying, "Hey, I've seen your club. It looks really blah blah blah. I'd love to join. Like, what's the average speed? Or do you guys do rides here? Or how do I connect with you guys?" Those
Yeah.
are typically how the
Yeah.
conversations go, and I'll just drop a
Yeah.
reply back, um, depending on what they've asked, pointing them in the right direction. Right? We run open rides 3 to 4 times a week, right? Tuesday is essentially our fast laps, right? Friday is typically our community open lap days, right?
Yeah.
7 a.m., which is a
Hmm.
relatively good opener for anyone. And then Saturday we have hills. If you like hills, Saturday's good. That's bi-weekly. And then Sunday is our club ride days, right? Now, depending on the ride, depends if it should be somebody's first ride or not.
Yeah.
But the
Yeah.
majority of rides have a C3 or C4 group, which is typically the easiest entry group for anybody who's new into the space.
Perfect. Talking about, I guess, new and into the space. I feel like since the pandemic, diversity in, I guess, grassroots cycling is, I would say, is quite hand in hand. Probably one of the biggest clubs in London for diversity, if not the biggest.
Yeah. For sure.
How do you see, I guess, CGC's involvement in, I guess, grassroots cycling going forward?
I think I think 3 years ago I didn't have a bike, right?
Yeah.
And so my entry, I mentioned before, buying a mountain bike. A couple months later, buying a road bike. What I
Mm.
didn't mention is 6 months after that, buying another road bike, and that saga continues. More recently, still having another new bike, right? So
Yeah.
you're constantly evolving. But my point is more, I started in the grassroots. I still consider myself to be in the grassroots personally today,
Mm.
right? So we'll always cater for the grassroots level because the reason that we ended up changing that WhatsApp group into an actual club, so to speak, is because accessibility to the sport wasn't easy, even for us, right?
Yeah.
There was no kind of open door that said, "Hey, you can come and ride here." I DM'd so many different people to figure out how I can ride in
Mm.
here, and I
Yeah.
either got no response, right, or I got a rejection response. So we created our own lane because there was no kind of other option or door that was open, and so our doors will within our control, always remain somewhat open, right? I say somewhat with a caveat because it's not viable to continuously provide the facilities that we do at like zero cost indefinitely, right? At some stage, we're going to
Yeah.
have to put a process in place so that we're not like losing money, so to speak, right? But the door being open to grassroots, I think, is important. It's key. Is what we're passionate about. So we'll continue to kind of fly that flag for as long as we can.
Perfect. I think that wraps up this section. Time for a break.
Welcome back, everybody. We're going to go into the third section, which is Q&A. The first question might not be rapid fire, but I think we need to do it regardless. NJ and I are both members of CGC. Jan, can you tell us the story behind the CGC kit, please?
Yeah, I think I support Man United for my sins. We're having a shocking time at the moment, but let's not talk about that, right?
I know nothing about football. Fine.
Good. Let's stick with that.
Right?
Are
they still in? Are they still in the Champions? They're still in the League One. They're still in the top one.
Yeah, just about. We're hanging in there. We're hanging in there. But my favorite kit was a red jersey that had sharp on the front, and it basically had the stadium printed into the design of the jersey in the background. And so when I started thinking about like designing a kit for the club, like we're from London, right? So I wanted London to feature into the design.
Yeah.
And so I kind of took inspiration from that Man United stadium jersey and thought, how can we build a cycling jersey with like the London skyline in the background? And so literally like downloaded some pictures of different kind of skylines, had the idea of the jersey, thought about a few colors, and then just started tweaking it over time together, and then landed where we are, right? So that was that's where it came from. A lot of people walking around with Man United inspired jerseys, right?
I know that. You know, the Liverpool supporting fans and CGC, they wear that. They wear their Man United jersey with pride.
Big up sports. I love that.
Yeah. Is there we see people in like the pink colorway and the grey colorway. Is there like is there a reason behind that?
Yeah, there is. I think short story is couldn't really decide on one definite color, and so the grey was the first rendition, and then the pink came about, and then really couldn't narrow down between like let's go with one or the other. Like I was always going to get both personally, but where we landed was there's really two sides to the club, right? There's what we tend to call the inner circle of the club, the core members of the club, right? People who have been consistently riding from its infancy in the group, right? They're in the core WhatsApp group, and that's about 100 people strong. And then there's the community side, right? Anyone who wants to come and join one of our rides is welcome to. They sign up through the Strava. And so I didn't want to have just one kit for just the core members, right? I wanted it to be accessible to anyone who wanted it. And so we went with the grey being accessible to everyone and the pink being more exclusive to the core members of the club.
Mate, I just need to say that your 40th birthday green jersey. Oh my God.
I think Chris has a nice blue one. And then you got the all black as well for when like you gotta go stealth mode.
Yeah. So and this I guess like again, one of the ideas with that kit design was rather than having to design new kits, just run a new color, right? Like you can keep the same print and just write now all yellow, bang, all green, bang. And then to your point, Cameron, for my birthday I was blessed with a deep green colorway, which was probably my favorite color Rafa kit. I used to wear it all the time, so I'm imagining that's where you guys took inspiration from with that color, right? Which is amazing.
The Capo jersey.
Love it.
So good.
You spoke about inner circles. What do you prefer, Regent's Park or Richmond Park?
Do you know what? I think they're both great for different things, right? I think Regent's Park for me is probably my staple, my go to. It's closer for me to get to.
Mm.
It's flat, right? And so if I want to just go and get my head down and just do laps at a consistent speed, that's the go to. And to be frank, Tuesday is probably my favorite day of the week. We do hot
Ah,
laps.
Mm.
I'm out at 6 a.m. I'm back home by 8:30, and I'm getting ahead of the
yep,
working day, and I'm ready to go. Right, so Regents is definitely the staple. However, I'm learning to love hills, right?
Oh,
And Richmond gives me that elevation that I need to
mm.
continue to practice on, right? So it's a hard divvy. It's a hard divvy. Give me both.
oh no,
Do you
no,
think?
you only get one.
Hey,
Regents,
do you
Regents
think?
Park.
Yeah, yeah. But hang on, there's the other thing that NJ and I talk about all the time. Do you think Regent? Which do you think's more pro? Regent's is more pro than Richmond, right?
Regents is definitely more pro.
Oh yeah,
If you're there in the morning before 7:30.
hey,
Absolutely,
yeah.
absolutely. So as you was talking about, I guess learning to love climbs. Do you have a favorite climb?
I I don't yet love climbs, right? So I wouldn't quite like give
You're
me.
in the bargaining stage of it.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah,
still
yeah, yeah, yeah. Get your
I'm
excuses in now.
I'm
It's fine.
right. I am not a hill climber. I'm just not genetically set up for that. But climb wise, do I have a favorite? I think that um, I think I think Girona
Mm,
has some amazing climbs. We did Roca Corba. I've done it
Yeah.
twice,
yeah,
but we did it this year as a club, and that's probably the favorite just because it's got a lot of emotion attached to it.
mm,
Right, we had 27 people
Yeah.
do it, and 27 people completed it, so it was a real surreal, emotional
awesome.
end.
And
But
isn't
I just did
Rocacorba like Rocacorba's like an hour long climb? Here you are saying I don't like climbs, and your favorite one is like an hour long.
right, and I was gonna top that by saying I just got back from the Dolomites not long
Uh,
ago, and Paso
Oh yeah,
Pardal
yeah.
Oh,
was the whole climb itself with the start was like 22K, right? So it's even longer, double
what
Rock Corba.
what's the average
Um,
gradient on that?
I think it was like about 6.57 average.
That's
Um,
Oh,
but
that's
it was
like
brutal. We did a 28K
awful.
climb in the morning before that, so it was pretty brutal. It was tears of joy at the finish.
So where are you stopping when you go for a coffee? Where are you going usually?
If I'm in Central, you'll find me at Rafa. All right.
Mm.
If it's a hot day,
Getting that discount.
getting that discount in, right? If it's
Getting
a
that
hot day,
discount.
I'm at Fortitude, and if
Mm.
I'm by Richmond, I'm at the Cyclista.
no, it's got it locked down. It's got it locked down.
Oh,
So,
that's like the Power Three, to be honest with you, isn't it?
what would you say is the most overrated cycling product? That can be like anything.
Oh yeah.
The most overrated cycling product. Um, that's a big question. I think what doesn't work for me yet is probably like chaff cream, bum cream,
Oh, chamois cream.
chamois
Yeah,
cream,
bullshit.
right?
Bullshit.
I've tried it a few times, but I still get a
Mm.
sore bum.
Oh no.
So does it work? Does it not work? The jury's still out for me.
I never know if you're meant to rub it on the bib or you just rub it on your skin. That is
So I
the
do both. I just rub it all over and
just
still
all
hurts, right?
over. Maybe we need to like add in pseudo cream as well for like a ultimate mix.
Oh
Yeah,
my
absolutely.
god. So Jan, maybe the last question for you, Mush. Am I ever going to see white bib shorts? I'm trying. The revolution is coming. People are aware.
I think
Thoughts on white bib shorts? Are you going to maybe be debuting 2024 white bib shorts?
can we
Could we
also
see you?
add that Jan also said you can get CGC kit in any color. So surely the all white CGC kit.
Hey now, I'm going to turn up to chat labs looking like the Pope.
I think yeah, white bib shorts. I don't think you'll see me in white bib shorts, but I'm aware that this is being recorded and can be played back to me at any time.
Ah.
So I'll caveat that with
Oh,
my current mindset is you won't see me in any bib shorts. However,
Mm.
um, if you did, then I'd
Mhm.
probably be wearing a matching outfit with my man Cameron.
wee. When
There
Cameron
you
wears
go.
white bib shorts to CGC laps, what emotions did you feel?
I think there was a whole debate
Envy.
about,
Envy is fine. Envy is
right. No,
fine. You can
there was
say
a whole
envy.
debate about Cam wearing white bib shorts, because he put it out there, and to be
Oh yeah.
honest, when you turned up in white bib shorts, I looked at the bib shorts and I thought, looks pretty good, mate. Looks pretty good. He's done it.
For the listeners, what happened was everyone's going, anti-clockwise as you do in Regent's Park. Cam went clockwise. So it was like, you're at one of those air shows and it was like a flyby. And he even he was waving like the Queen when he went
Cool
past
T-bone.
everyone.
The boys on the flyby.
I think I got a message from Cam in the morning, like, today's the day, mate. I'll be
Wear
there.
your
The white
shades.
shorts are out.
Yeah. Wear your best outfit. I'm coming in hot.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cam, where did you get your white bib shorts from?
Undisclosed.
Undisclosed.
The funny thing, Cam, is I'd never seen anybody wear white bib shorts until you said he'd wear them. And since that day, I think I've seen about at least 5 people rocking white bibs. So you might be onto something there.
Hashtag white bib revolution, baby.
Yeah. When you wear white bib shorts, you have to either be the fastest person in the park or you have to be like riding at a cadence so crazy that you just look pro. And wear double gilet as well.
Yeah,
Alas.
you definitely put yourself out there as a target, right?
Well, Jan, mate, it's been really good talking to you. Like the work that you and Chris have done on CGC about diversity, inclusion, how you've gone from not cycling to being one of the biggest clubs in London. It's a real pleasure. That's how NJ and I met. That's how most of my now close friends have actually met. So thank you for putting the group together. Thank you for inviting us to be on it. And thank you for being on our podcast. Places to find you: Strava, Instagram, fast laps on a Tuesday, chat laps on a Friday. Jan, do you have anything last you want to say on the pod?
Now, listen, guys, I really appreciate joining and being a guest. I love seeing you guys working together. I look forward to hearing and listening to future editions. Always happy to support and help in any way possible. It takes opportunities like this. It takes you guys speaking to different people within the sport and the industry, so that the new generation of grassroots entries can really get visibility and transparency into what's happening, where to go to, right? So it's a beautiful thing that you guys are creating. I wish you guys the best of luck.
Oh, thanks. Thank you very much, Jan.
Everybody, that was Yannick White. Bye.
Bye.